welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedict and I'm feeling productive.
I'm Benedicte. Today is July 12th. This is episode number 146 and I am feeling so relaxed.
Ah, that's nice. I mean, thanks for even recording this one. Actually, like it's taking some time out of your well-deserved vacation.
I mean, if we didn't record today, I don't think we would ever record again. I'm gonna have so bad. My inertia is gonna be so bad after this summer. Because I thought, especially since it's been raining, like the weather, it's not been raining that much, but the weather has been up and down. So the first couple of days, it was just so beautiful and so calm, and you kind of want to seize those days and get your swimming on and your stand-up paddling and like all of that.
Yeah.
But even when the weather wasn't that good, we hung out with some friends. I met some people that I've known. Most of the people here I've known, I guess, for almost 30 years. So it's like a very chill atmosphere when we meet again and we just kind of hang out. So basically my life is like eating, cleaning up after eating, swimming, eating some more, cleaning up after eating, drinking some wine. That's about it.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, I guess my train of thought was that I thought that I would get like eager to do some coding, especially in the mornings, which has kind of been my time because the weather hasn't been perfect, but not really. I've done like a little bit of work, but it hasn't like come over me being like, oh, I need to be a creative or I've just hung out.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's like usually takes a little while, like a couple of days to get disconnected and relaxed. And then I think it's about 2 weeks or so when I start to get anxious again to do stuff, because not doing stuff is also kind of boring. So at some point my mind starts thinking about work stuff again and all the nice, crazy things we could be doing. That's usually where I am then looking forward to getting back to work.
Mm-hmm.
But in the time between, like, it's totally nice to do nothing and not even think about it.
I think the thing here a little bit we're getting new guests coming all the time, so it's hard to not hard, but I don't get that kind of boredom. If we were here alone, just the three of us for 2-3 weeks, I would probably be more eager. But like enough things are happening, but it's just at such a slow pace, but not too slow. There's like always something happening, and there's people and there's boats and there's things you got to do and errands and fixing the pump and then fixing the dishwasher. Like there's things to do, but it's just like this very slow summer rhythm, and it's kind of like reminds me of like my childhood summers where it's just, I mean, you do things all the time, but it's just such a slow pace. And crab fishing. So we have 3 kids here now, and we did that. And it's fun to see things that you thought was fun when you were young actually working for the new generations. Like I think they spent like 2 hours or even more this morning before lunch, just like fishing crabs off the pier, and then they released them again. But they like fished them and like how many, and they were testing out what kind of foods they liked. And none of them were asking for phones or screens or anything. They were actually having real fun, not just like, oh, because we have to do what old people did. They're actually having fun. So that's been really nice to see in just that slow space. But anyway, what have we done? Should we do me first, because it's like almost nothing?
Sure. Yeah.
So we did wrap up the Cloudinary demo. The Cloudinary plugins. I probably said that before, but I found a better way of doing some stuff one morning where I actually did some work. So I fixed that. But we are like really hoping for somebody to test the beta. I want like 1 or 2 people to give it like a thumbs up. Like I've tested it over and over. We have automated tests, but nothing like having somebody actually npm install it and like take it for a spin. But I'm thinking a lot of people are taking real vacations this year, so it feels like things are quite slow. So even the people who were very eager to have these changes come out, seems like they're not like online. which is fine. Like we could let the betas are out so people can test it, and if they are eager, they will actually find the beta on NPM. So, but I'm like, if nothing happens by like mid-August, I'm gonna be like, I have to find somebody and force them to test it out. Yeah. But I'm hoping somebody that actually needs it when they get back to work in August, they actually want to do this upgrade because it will actually be beneficial for them, because that's a better test than somebody just, testing it on some new demo. I want them to upgrade. I want somebody who is using them do an upgrade on their setup would be like my ideal case. So crossing my fingers for that. And then while I was all relaxed, creativity, I realized, and we went to the conference. I did talk about the conference. Yes, and I really enjoyed the in-person conference. I decided, I need to do more conferences, but I didn't want to talk that much about POW, as that's not really our money maker. Like, I want to talk about Gatsby plugins so that I can get more authority in that space and get more leads for our plugin business. So I came up with this idea, and it's called Keep Calm and Code Your Own Gatsby Plugin. And it's a talk and workshop combo where I'll do like a short talk on how you can code your own plugin, but then there will also be a workshop connected to the conference, half day or full day, I haven't decided yet, where people actually learn to create their own plugins. And I'm really happy with my title, because a lot of the times, if you're in the Gatsby space, it's always like, but there's a plugin for that. And then people get really mad because the plugin isn't working because somebody made it 3 years ago and haven't updated it. So I like my little keep calm and just like, you can do it yourself. Like, you're allowed. You don't have to use other people's plugin.
You can create more plugins that will be abandoned after a month.
No, the thing is, there's like this little hidden gem with Gatsby. It's like you can have local plugins. So you can have plugins that are just a part of your project, but that work in a similar way. So you don't have to publish them until they are at the state where they could be for public consumption, or never, if it's just local. But it's a very good way to modularize your code, because then you will configure your local plugins in the same way you would configure external plugins. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about in the workshop and the talk. So it's already accepted something called the Modern Frontends Live in London in November. Seems like everyone is going to this conference. They've been very eager in like DMs. And I was like, I don't even know who these people are. Is this like a legit conference? And then the first 60 speakers came out, and it's like everybody, it seems like. So I was like, okay, I'll say yes.
I've never heard about it.
It's a new conference, so I have no idea who these people are. It might even get canceled. I don't know. But I was like, okay, put my face and name on there, and I'm among the great.
Nice.
And I've sent it in for other conferences, and I will be trying to do some more CFPs so that I can hopefully do it like 3 or 4 times this fall, especially with that workshop, because the way I've learned how the system works is that the talks are usually, you don't get paid to talk at these tech conferences if you're not the keynote speaker. But then if you are accepted to do a workshop, and it's often so that the attendees will pay for the workshop, and then the workshop holder will get most of the money for the workshop, but it's like in connection to a conference, so people are already flying in or coming. So it's a kind of a easier way to set up a conference than for me to be like, I'm going to New York, who wants to come to my conference? It's easier to do it together with a conference.
Totally.
Come to my workshop, yeah. So I hope that will help also, because a little bit of money doing the workshops, but also just talking to doing this live and like talking to people, I can kind of refine the way I talk about this, and then hopefully turn that into the book and course that we've been talking about. But instead of trying to write that off the bat, it's going to be nice to teach this live and actually see their live reactions and understand where I'm explaining things well and where I'm not explaining things well. And it's easier to change up your talk and workshop than to change up like a video course or something like that, because then you have to redo everything. So hopefully, or at least have one, but hopefully planes will be flying this fall and I can go to these places. My father is not coming now to our summer house because flights out of London are being cancelled because Heathrow can't handle the demand.
Same here.
Yes, and in Norway, the airline is on strike, or the pilots are on strike. So we'll see. We'll see. But that's my plan, anyways. And then we'll just have to improvise if things change.
Well, you have to go by boat. That's one fix, right?
Yes, we'll sail. Ula's a good sailor, and that would be very on brand if we sailed to New York and did a conference there. London is closer.
Wait, is the conference in New York?
No, I've CFP'd for a the one that's accepted is in London, but I have a CFP that I hope will be accepted for New York in September. So we would have to get on the boat now, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I mean, looking out of your window behind you, there are boats available.
So many boats. Maybe we should just be true pirates and just hijack one of these boats and go.
Yep, sounds like the right.
Sounds like a plan.
To do.
Yes. Yeah, our guests now actually have decided never to take a plane again. So they would be on board doing that, I think, and so they can see part of the world that you can't if you can't go by train. I mean, you can't go to Australia or Americas without a boat or plane. But anyway,
true.
And then I was talking a lot about POW, of course, 2 weeks ago. I didn't do that much, but I see that we have 8 new customers in the last 3 months. So that's good for us, I guess. And some people have been emailing, which is good. Still don't know exactly where to go. I did get some good advice. I don't remember the name now. Marcus on Slack, one of our listeners, where I kind of realized I need a menstrual health person. We've talked about that before, somebody who kind of is interested in the space outside of the technology. And just before this summer, somebody reached out to me, another Norwegian lady who is in the menstrual health space, because we are now our own space within femtech. There is now, I don't know, mentech. No, that doesn't sound good. Period tech. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm doing some talks with her, and that could be an interesting way of interesting direction to go in. But it's her idea, so I'm not going to share that until we know any more about that. But I think that I need somebody who is very invested in the space and interested in the space, so that I could be more of a typical technical co-founder. And if that doesn't work, I don't know. We'll just keep on keeping on and see where it takes me.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good.
But it's so much fun with the plugins.
Well, it seems to be working. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with focusing on that, right?
Yeah.
But overall, it sounds like even though you're on vacation, you did a lot of stuff.
I'm doing a lot of thinking. I guess that's work as well, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's good to just disconnect a little bit and just be able to think about stuff like that, because otherwise you're so caught up in the day-to-day that you don't have time to get creative and think about strategy and all of that. Yeah.
So what about you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit like those 2 days where I was sick 2 weeks ago. I feel like they threw me off a little bit. Not entirely sure. Like, maybe it's something else as well, but I feel like I'm jumping between a lot of things all the time, and not like making progress on a lot, like making a little bit of progress on a lot of things versus making a lot of progress on one thing, which usually feels like more like you getting you're accomplishing things. So it doesn't feel like I'm accomplishing anything, but then again, some work gets done. So I don't know. It's just a weird feeling, and I'm not entirely sure why that is.
Let's start listing it up for us, and you will feel good.
Well, let's start with the thing I didn't work on, but Leo has been working on the editor as like he was doing for the last couple of weeks, but it looks like we will be able to get something into customers' hands, or like at least testers' hands today or tomorrow. Like basically the thing he's working on is like wrapping up the features he's currently working on, and then writing some instructions about what's even possible in the new editor and what things people can test, like all the shortcuts and behaviors and all of that aren't inherently visible. Like it's a text field. There's nothing there's nothing that you can see in a way.
Nothing that could go wrong.
There's a lot that can go wrong. That's for sure. And there's still a lot of rough edges, but I guess it's feature complete in the sense that we have solutions for everything we want to do, and almost everything is in place. And for the other stuff that's still missing or that still needs polish, we at least have a plan. So I think it's the right time to gather some feedback and see if we're like missing anything obvious or like have any major problems that we didn't know about yet. So I'm excited about that part. And then it will probably still take a couple more weeks to get it really polished and integrated into the product. But overall, I'm super happy, because even at this stage, we at least started thinking and about a lot of problems that other editors have, like even copy pasting from Word into the editor and pasting Markdown and like all of that stuff that gets neglected most of the time. We at least started thinking about it and have solutions for some of the things. But there are also some problems here and there. For example, one thing we noticed was if you copy text and images from, I think, a Word document and paste them into the editor, it will upload the images, but all the text will be gone. So small quirks like that still need to be addressed. But yeah, I'm confident that we'll figure it out and get it working. So that's the exciting part that I was mostly not involved in, other than like chatting about possible solutions and potential problems. But that's basically all Leo's work. I myself have been working a little bit on the Stripe integration, and while we have like processing events nailed, like you can connect your user list account to your Stripe account, and you'll get events about like failed payments and canceled trials or new trials and stuff like that. So that part's working, but what we don't have is actually querying your user base based on stuff like who's currently in a trial or who's currently on a particular plan or stuff like that. And I underestimated this part a little bit in the beginning, because I was like, yeah, just no problem. But then I realized, well, shoot, like in Stripe, a customer has multiple subscriptions and they can all be in different states. And every subscription can have multiple subscription items, which are only then connected to a plan. So it's not as straightforward as I hoped. So
never is.
So after banging my head against this for a little while, I decided before I do anything further in that direction, it's time to tackle actually the schema we keep about your data. Like this gets a little bit meta, but for every data point you send to us, we basically we store the values, but we also create a schema that describes the data. And so far, it's only been like, this is an event, it has these properties, or this is a user, it has these properties. But what I started adding last week is that we also auto-detect the type based on the first value we see. So if you send in a string, we know it's a string and we'll save that. If you send in an array, we recognize that, save that. Because that will allow us to then, in our filter UI and basically everywhere in the UI, be a little bit smarter about what we show you when you say, I want to filter by all users who have at least one subscription with at least one of these plans or whatever. So in order to do all of that, we're basically adding type support to the entire system. And with that, we're also finally, because it's been on our roadmap for, I don't know, years, we're finally adding a schema editor into the UI where you can adjust those settings, like at least for custom stuff like custom properties and custom events. You'll be able to change the types, you'll be able to change the labels, and you'll also be able to add descriptions. Because one of the things we heard in our very early custom interviews was that you tend to set up your data structure once, and then 6 months later, nobody knows what the stuff even means. Like, what's this value about? Like, I don't know what projects means. Is it like active projects, total projects ever created, like stuff like that? So there will be a way to just add a small description and like basically make a note for your future self or colleagues, so they know what this is actually about. So that's the part I've been working on in the last couple of days, and it's coming along nicely. And I'm pushing myself to keep this small and incremental, and hopefully roll it out by the end of this week, so that we can build this in small increments instead of like one big thing that is scary to launch again. So yeah. And then the other big thing that's going on is, as I mentioned, we launched our new pricing a couple weeks ago, and overall it's going nicely. We got a new customer on the most expensive plan. They seem to be happy. We're still getting trials. It's a little bit less than before, but that might also be related to just like summer and people being on vacation and stuff like that.
I don't know what you mean. So, I'm testing out all the tools right now. Not
exactly. But we're still getting trials. People are still converting. So we're fairly confident that the new pricing didn't screw up everything. And that encouraged us to start thinking about increasing prices for existing customers. So that's what we're going to do. Basically, the plan is to move everyone to the new basic plan at $149. With the exception, I think we're going to exclude people who are still on the starter plan, on the $9 starter plan experiment from 2 years ago. Because we felt like a $140 price increase is a little bit too much for someone paying just $9. And like most of them aren't even properly using the product, so it's not like it's a big deal. But the only problem is like for people who are using the company's feature, because that's now feature gated behind the $499 plan, like the most expensive one.
Mm-hmm.
So we're making an exception for people currently using that and who are still on the old pricing. So we'll introduce a new basic plus companies plan that has the features of the basic plan plus the company's feature. It's still $149, so the increase isn't that bad. But yeah, that's the plan there. I think we're going to announce it soonish. I'm not entirely sure if we make it this week or next week, but the plan is to get the announcement out sometime soon, and then give people a 3-month grace period before we actually upgrade them. So the plan is to upgrade everyone in October or November. And that feels like a fair timeline. So if they want to cancel and move somewhere else, I think they can do it. But my hopes are that most of them will not, because it's like for most people, it's not that big of an increase. And quite a lot of people will actually stay on the same pricing, essentially, like, because they're already over the user limit, and it just works out nicely. So it's basically the same.
And for the others, like, are you expecting people to complain, or is that what you're saying now? You think people will be okay?
I think people will be okay, because like for most people it's a $50 price increase, something like that. So it's not too bad. and the product evolved like over the last couple of years. Like some of those people are still on plans they signed up on 3 years ago, something like that, and there's a lot of stuff added to the product since then, and it's a lot more robust. And there will be the new editor coming, and we will be working on a visual workflow builder next. So I think we can justify a higher price. And if some people are complaining and quitting, I think, yeah, it will be fine anyways. Overall, it looks like we're looking at a roughly 4K per month price MRR increase. So I feel like it's worth it, even if a couple people bail out and cancel. So yeah, we see. I definitely report back.
Yeah, it will be interesting. How's the spam going?
No spam since we last talked. So looks like it was just one person giving it a try. And so far it's all good. Let's hope they don't return anytime soon. Or that we catch them soon, like quick enough and just like block them. So yeah, I'm confident about that right now.
And do you have any vacation planned?
Not yet. But I should be.
I'll send you some more photos to
to make me jealous.
Well, we have a cancellation here. Just jump on a plane that hopefully leaves Germany that can't leave London.
Well, yeah, looking at the news, like it's not like air travel isn't any fun around here either.
You could drive up here and then there's a ferry that goes. There's also a bridge now from Denmark to Sweden that didn't used to be there.
Yeah, I mean, that's been around for a while though, no?
I mean, I've known the people here 30 years. Like I'm getting to the age where like
30 years ago it maybe wasn't there, but
30 years it wasn't there.
20 years ago it might have been there.
Oh, I remember how annoying I found it as a kid, where these grown-ups were like, "Oh, look at how you've grown." It's like, duh. And also where they always like end up losing 10 years on things, and now I'm there. Like I have to mentally be like, add 10 years to whatever you're going to say now, like add 10 years. Because it's like, totally. A couple of years ago. Oh, I mean 12 years ago. That's when.
Yep.
So, and it gets especially clear in this kind of like summer. We haven't been for 3 years either, but like when you come back to the same place every year, but it's been far enough that, especially like the other people's kids have grown so much. I mean, mine has as well, but I haven't seen their kid for maybe a year or 2 or 3, now. And then like, oh, they're like not babies anymore. And you end up saying those stupid things that you found annoying when you were a kid yourself. It was like, oh, how big you will come. And they're like, Dad.
Yes.
Yes. What do I answer to that? Like, just like, there's no answer. But I guess we'll just have to embrace. I just have to embrace my coming into middle age or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it for this week. Do you want to record next week, or do you want to skip this one as well?
I'll skip that one as well. We'll have another 2-week break. And then we have a guest.
Then we have a guest, yeah. It will be Nathan Powell of formerly Newsy, and he's launching a new thing, Feature Flux, something like that. So that will be interesting to talk about in 2 weeks.
And then we're back to our regular weekly schedule, because somebody got to get back on the workhorse.
Yes, totally.
And get out of my inertia that I'm feeling is just creeping in more and more and more and more. I'm going to be this very immovable object. It's going to take a lot of power to move again.
We'll get you moving again.
Yes, that's what I'm counting on.
Podcast will help, I guess.
It will. Absolutely will help. Yeah, but I guess that's it. And see you around anyway.